Thank you very much. Warm welcome. Right now, we are living through an amazing, amazing time. It is so disruptive. Every day I wake up thinking there's a meteor about to strike the Earth, changing everything that we do. Fortunately, unlike the dinosaurs, we can see it coming, so we can make plans for it. We can choose what we want to build in response to this huge disruption. So, the theme of the conference and the theme of my talk is how can we make a future positive world in this wildly changing time? And the reason this disruption is so big is that I've lived through prior disruptions, and I can compare this to those. I lived through the PC revolution, the internet revolution, the mobile revolution. The PC democratized computing. The internet democratized information. The mobile revolution democratized communication. But this new revolution is democratizing intelligence itself. It's allowing us to do that at a whole different scale than was ever before possible. And I really feel that just this year, we've reached a turning point. Even though ChatGPT came out at the end of 2022, and even though we haven't reached artificial general intelligence, if we even ever do, I still feel that this year will be a turning point in civilization because of how powerful AI has become, how useful it's become, how challenging it's going to become to integrate this into everything. So this discussion for today is how do we make it for good? First, let me look back at the loop that we've been through in the past. Civilization has been through a loop for 10,000 years. It was a biological engine of civilization. This biological engine of civilization started with sunlight, which then went to photosynthesis, which then produced our food, which then gave us our muscles and our brains, and then we turned that into value. The pyramids, the Roman Empire, the whole modern world that we built from this loop. That loop powered everything for the last 10,000 years. But now we're entering a new loop. This new loop, this new engine of civilization of this AI era, is now taking power from sunlight or fusion or any other energy source, converting it to electricity, putting that into compute, and then using that for AI and robots, and that delivering value, innovation, solutions, and wisdom. So the key contrast from what we had before, we're not feeding energy into our stomachs, we're feeding it into GPUs. And this is a very, very big shift in all of human history, because most of human history, intelligence was scarce. But today, we're feeding watts into a data center, and out come tokens, basically a unit of thought. We're almost quite literally turning watts into wisdom. And just to give you a sense of how many tokens we're creating every day, it's 300 trillion right now, growing at 7 times per year. Something growing at 7x a year to 300 trillion tokens. So again, to put that in perspective, that's several billion every second. And that means we're creating more tokens or words than all of 8 billion humans on Earth at any given moment. Think about that. AI is creating more language every second than every human on Earth. We've reached a remarkable turning point because of this. This new loop, this new engine of civilization is really, really a dramatic change. So what kind of things can that lead to? What ways will AI move things differently going forward? Well, I put that in 3 categories. The first would be like looms, where you can automate a person's work. The second would be more like slide rules or calculators, where you can make a person faster. But the third, which we're seeing right now, are more like cranes, extending what a person can do, giving capabilities that no human could do before, lifting more than anybody could lift. This really is a turning point because now it expands our horizons by an enormous amount. When you have something that expands your horizons by an enormous amount, every new disruptive technology has unintended consequences. So they have positives and negatives. So take radio, for example. The positive was instant mass communication, but the unintended consequence, a propaganda tool, many, many good things and bad things just came from radio. Or nuclear power, huge positive. Low carbon energy, very high output energy source, but the negative. Nuclear accidents, and of course, nuclear weapons. And even fossil fuels have wrought many positive consequences along with their negatives, lifting many, many people out of poverty, obviously giving us warmth and comfort and convenience to travel. Probably many of us use fossil fuels to arrive here today. But we've had wars over energy resources, in fact, ones that are going on right now. And then, of course, climate change and weather disasters, in fact, ones that are going on right now. So every new technology has the positives and negatives. And I tried to take some of the AI consequences and put them in categories like that as well. This list is certainly not exhaustive, but I made a list of some of the great positives of AI, some of the negatives, but also some of the unintended consequences that I think will occur too. I'd love people to help us flesh out this list. That's what this conference is all about, trying to make AI for good. So we need to address all of these columns. Well, I tried to figure out which ones could I personally address. Looking at this list, which of these things could I try and tackle myself? And I chose 3: copyright theft, content monetization, and unemployment. Unemployed class that might come from AI. So let me take you through each of those very quickly. First, copyright theft. Well, I think most of you know that a little over 2 years ago, the New York Times sued OpenAI and Microsoft for copyright theft. I think that a lot of the AI companies basically did shoplifting at an enormous scale and took content from many publishers and content creators and started giving it away for free, not charging, but most of all, not giving any revenues back to the original publishers. This scraping has gone on for the last years, and I really feel that this is an important place we need to make a difference, not only for democracy, but for fairness, and to make sure that the creators making this information have the incentive to continue making that great content in the first place. And think about this. Creators share in revenue in almost all other forms of digitization. When you download an app from the App Store, the app creator gets revenue share. When you download some music or listen to some music, stream some music on Spotify, the musician gets a revenue share. On YouTube, creators get revenue share. In all these places, revenue gets shared. So why not in AI? Even offline revenues are shared. Nielsen and ASCAP and BNI track offline usage of music and other content and share revenue when music is played in restaurants or in venues. I definitely feel that it's very, very important for us to have a fair world that shares revenue to content creators in all areas. And let's take the YouTube example as one. When YouTube first started out, copyright infringement was rampant. And every day, studios would contact YouTube and say, take this down, take that down. NBC would contact YouTube and say, that SNL clip that you're showing live on YouTube, take that down. And after all the takedown notices that YouTube was trying to handle, YouTube said, well, what about if we share 50% of the revenue with you as a creator, NBC and everybody else? And everybody said, great, then I'll make great content for you to share on YouTube. And YouTube thrived after that moment. So in fact, by sharing revenue, you can make a content system thrive even better than when you're stealing the content. So I think the exact same thing has to happen in AI. So how do we do it? In generative AI, there are no streams or views or viewers or downloads to count because the output comes back an amalgamation of different content creators. The AI companies claim they don't know where the content came from because they stole all of it and mixed it all together in their machine. We wanted to come up with a way to take a look at the output of generative AI and figure out what sources of content caused that answer to show up. If we could do that, then fair revenue share could happen. So we came up with a way to do that, and over the last 2 years, more than 1,500 publications have signed up with us for a 50-50 revenue share. And what we do is compute the output of generative AI and say, this much came from here, this much came from there, and here's how that 50% should be shared. Now, my next goal is to convince the AI companies to adopt something like that so that they would share revenue just as well. But this is what it looks like. We have a search engine called Gist, and here's just a sample of, we're just trying to show how this could work if the AI companies would adopt it. Here's a question, for example, how are businesses being impacted by the rise of generative AI? And the answer comes back from 1,500 licensed publications, so we didn't crawl anything that didn't give us permission in advance. And you can see the answer comes back and says 34% came from The Atlantic, 25% came from Time, 25% came from Fortune magazine, and 16% came from The Guardian. So we can exactly specify who contributed to that answer, and that's exactly how the 50% revenue should be shared. So my goal is to convince all the AI companies to adopt a system like this so we can have fairness in content creation on AI. The next area is at this company Pro Rata that I started, the whole idea is to create a world where creators share in the economic value. And that's what I feel is so important because the economic value is shared in all the other places as well. So that was copyright theft. The next thing I want to talk to you about was content monetization. And content monetization is helping websites make up for the fact that they're getting less traffic from search engines like Google and others because the answer is being given to people directly and there's no longer a need to go to the website, even though the content was lifted from that website in the first place. So to help people in this new zero-click environment is to give people the ability to take search back at their own website. So we have built a system that allows people to add search to their own website. And here's an example at sportsillustrated.com. We built a system where our AI answer engine will allow people to ask questions at sportsillustrated.com and get an AI answer right there, alleviating the need for them to go to Google or ChatGPT or Anthropic to get that answer. And this allows them to sort of take back search and earn that money for themselves by keeping their own users engaged at their own site. So I really feel that this is a way that we can help websites in this new age increase their own monetization. And what this allows people to do is not only have search at their site, but have related questions at their site too. And if you could help me advance to the next slide, you can see what that looks like too. On the next slide, you'll be able to see a search box at the top where there's questions, and those guide to related content within the website. That helps websites get more engagement and, again, have more monetization in this period when people are going more and more to AI answer engines to avoid going to the website in the first place with content that they had shoplifted. So finally, AI-related job loss. These three areas are the ones I'm really concerned about that I think we need to do something about. There's been more than 100,000 layoffs in the United States just in the first few months of this year that have claimed it was related to AI. There's estimated job loss of 5 to 10 million through the rest of this year, and some estimates have placed up to 100 million jobs lost by 2030 to AI. So what do we do about that? Well, 30 years ago, I started a company called Idealab. I modeled it off of Edison Labs. A lot of people don't know this, but Thomas Edison built a lab in New Jersey, and what he did is he tried lots of ideas and took each one that was successful and spun it off into a separate company. The phonograph was one company. The movie projector was another company. The light bulb was a third company. That became General Electric. So I wanted to make a place modeled after Edison's lab where we could spin off ideas into separate companies. And what we do is look for big opportunities that are broken and try to brainstorm technology solutions that can fix them, and actually build those into operating companies. And over the last 30 years, we've done this over and over again. We've created more than 150 companies, with more than 50 of them going public or having IPOs, acquisitions. And that's taught me a lot about what infrastructure needs to happen to make entrepreneurship really work. Because I feel entrepreneurship can really unlock human capital, human potential, in a very powerful way. So what's my goal? AI-related job creation as opposed to AI-related job loss. So I'm working to use my experience of running Idealab for 30 years to systematize the process, share it with everybody, and help more people become successful entrepreneurs solving important world problems. If we can make 100 million entrepreneurs over the coming years to replace the 100 million jobs that might be lost to AI, we can do something really, really powerful, identify important solutions, and really address humanity's biggest challenges. So what do I say about the AI challenge? Look carefully at the positive, negative, and unintended consequences. Add to the list that I shared. By the way, I'm happy to share this presentation with all of you. Just email me if you'd like to get the presentation, because I really love to build out that list so we can tackle all those problems. Find an area where your passion and skill can make a difference. I found 3. If you can even find 1 or more that can make a difference, or you can introduce some of those problems to someone who you know who can tackle one of those, that will really, really make a powerful difference. And then use the power of AI to help make a positive impact. I use AI for brainstorming all of these solutions. AI is a powerful tool for entering the problem, using your knowledge of possible solutions, and enhancing that to really tackle these. So the problem is not that AI is weak or that it's bad. The problem is we must work hard to create AI for good. So I'd love to share all this with you. I'd love to collaborate with you if I can help you in any way. My email is either bill@prorata.ai or bill@idealab.com. I'd love to talk to you further, either here at the conference or afterwards. Thank you very much. You've been a great audience.